Okay, so today I'm going to show you a really quick ornament. You can also make gift tags in this way. So what we're going to need for this is 2 pieces of fabric, about 5 inches square. I recommend that you use like a kind of a plain fabric, not one with a heavy print, so that you can see the stitches when you go through. And then we need a piece of scrap of batting, several colored threads that you think will look good with your fabric. Okay, and then length of ribbon about 8 inches long. It can be cording also to hang your ornament. And if you like, some type of embellishment. I'm going to see if I use one of these. You need some marking tool. I'm going to just use a friction pen here and a ruler. So the first thing we're going to do then is mark our fabric. I think I'm going to mark it about 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch. Just draw a line through it. And this will be to guide you. We're going to be using our machine's embroidery stitches for this. So just something to guide us. Okay, so I'm doing about every 3/4 of an inch. And we'll do the whole length. We'll do about a little bit less. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to layer the fabric with the scrap of batting, and I'm going to move to my machine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a different decorative stitch for each of the lines that I have drawn, and I will just stitch across each one. Okay, so I'm at my sewing machine, and I'm just going to select different stitches that I think are kind of nice and stitch along each line. I've got 6 lines here. You could make them closer or more space in between if you wish. I'm going to start with these 6 and see, and if I like the effect, I might even add some stitches between the lines. So let's get started with one of these stitches. Okay, so there's the first one. I'm going to go ahead and change the thread to another color. Okay, so I've changed my thread color, and I have selected a different stitch. Really, you could, if there's some stitch that you really like and you want to do them all the same way, you could use the same stitch. But I think that part of the fun in this is to try out different stitches and different colored threads. So I'm going to go with a different stitch here. So you can see how it's going to start looking at the end. In the end, I might decide to go ahead and add maybe a narrow stitch around here. Let's see. So I'm going to keep changing my color thread and changing the stitches until I have covered the whole surface. So here's my finished square. Because the batting that I used is kind of a high loft batting, it's a little bit poofy. Is that a word, poofy? I think I like it that way. However, I do have one stitch that's just a wavy line. I think I'm going to run that down through between the decorative stitches, just to give it a little bit more texture. So here is the finished embroidered square. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to trim the top and bottom. Okay, and then measure this. It's 5 inches. 5 inches. So what I will do is on the top I'm going to mark the center. And then I will cut from each corner to the center. Okay. And there we have the shape, the triangle, which will be the Christmas tree. You can trim this also and make gift tags out of this if you like. So here we have the choice to either I would use a blanket stitch, and you can do either by hand or on the machine, and I'm going to do mine on the machine. Actually, I'm thinking that this is kind of wide here, so I think I'm going to trim it just a little bit to give it a more narrower tree shape. And I'll use this to measure this side. Okay, it's about there. Okay, there we go, like that better. So I am going to blanket stitch around this on the machine, and then I will come back to add the hanger and some type of embellishment. I'm thinking maybe that, or I guess we'll have to decide. I think I like the red one, but let's go finish the blanket stitch around this, and then we'll come back and finish it. So a slight change of plans. I used these scraps to try out some stitches. And initially I thought that I was going to use a blanket stitch. Let me see, which one is this? This blanket stitch right here. And I didn't like the way it turned out. I played with the stitch length and the width, and in the end, I mean, it's okay, but it left a rough edge, and so I decided I really didn't like that. So I played around with a few other stitches on the machine. My machine has one that's called, it's a quilting V, and I think that if I had done the whole thing like this, I mean, if I was going to do it on the machine, I would have used this stitch. You can see it's like a little V here. But in the end, probably the best stitch to finish off the edges by machine would have been a satin stitch. It's just that I'm not particularly fond of the satin stitch to begin with, and I very, very rarely would use it in any project. So I decided to change of plans, and instead I went and I did the blanket stitch by hand. It's I like the blanket stitch. It takes a little bit longer, that's true, but I just like the look of it a lot better. And then while I was doing that, then I cut the loop, the ribbon loop, inside of the blanket stitch so that I could hang it from there. So you could leave the ornament like that, but I think I'd like to add a little bling to it. So I think I'm going to add this little star. And in this case, this is part of like I think it's I don't know where this came from, but there's no holes in it, so I can't string it through and sew it down. So I'm just going to glue it down. So a little dab of glue, and then I will just let it dry on the ornament. And there we go. A fast, quick little project. I just think it's really cute. So I hope this gives you some ideas. I mean, to, you know, make use of the different stitches on your machine and just play around with it. It's a really fun little project to do. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.